Hey, what's up? Welcome everybody to another Talk About Sports. We're doing fantasy style, so we're doing talk about fantasy sports under the influence. And this is my guest, Derek Downs, the sports under the influence. He can explain that part. But Derek and I go back to Nob Hill. So, I mean, how old are we? Like, I don't know, 10? Yeah, something along those lines. I think I got in trouble for saying something not so nice about your mom when I was like 8 years old or something like that. So my dad constantly tells me this story that I seem to have gotten in trouble for something along those lines.
Happened many times, buddy. Don't worry.
I don't remember, so I plead the fifth. But yeah, this is Derek. We're going to talk some fantasy, specifically daily fantasy NBA since the NBA is back after the Rona situation and them figuring out. Yeah, they figured out to play in Orlando. So why don't you just quickly tell everyone about yourself, Derek, and we'll go on from there.
I'm part of a three-man group. We have a podcast called Sports Under the Influence. A couple other buddies of ours, David knows them. We do a show once a week. We drink, we talk about sports, and then we end up talking about like My Little Pony and stuff like that. So it goes wherever it goes, but it's a good time, man.
Oh, come on, I don't think I was there for My Little Pony, but I know we make fun of Mark. We make fun of Mark a lot. I remember that part.
I mean, if we have nothing else to talk about, that's just what we go to.
So I think actually now that I go back, the night that Tua got drafted, I'm pretty sure I was actually because I was doing the 5 reasons, the live stream, but I wasn't on with them, and I was on with you guys.
You were.
So my reaction is like on CBS Sports somewhere or whatever nonsense. But I think I was on with you guys that
you were, but you had all the cameras up here all over the
place. I had the computer set up, my phone was set up, looking at Twitter. It was all.
Yeah, I remember watching it and like that 2 minutes of like intensity you had before the pick came in. You were like, "Did they say it? What's going on?" Because I think some people's TVs were ahead of other ones, and you're just.
Oh, Josh was ahead of me like crazy, and not only that, like I couldn't go on Twitter, but right. I think they almost went to commercial. I was gonna die, but look, they got to. That's all that fucking matters. We'll see what happens.
Amazing.
But yeah, so basically, what's going on is this: I do weekly. He does Sports Under the Influence. I do 5 Reasons to Drink, usually on Friday or Saturday night, but we're taking a week off. So we decided to do something a little mashup here. Basically, what's going on is this. There's 22 team formats. So, obviously coming back this season wasn't going to ever be normal. There's no way. To me, I would have been okay if they never came back, to be honest with you. But I get it. Players want to play. But 22 teams, and I'll put those teams up in a minute. But what do you feel like in terms of their health, and what's your opinion on them coming back?
I think it's going to be a mess. I think when they get out there and they start playing, it's going to. I mean, they're professionals, right? I don't think they need much ramp up time, but I feel like where they're playing is going to be a big deal. The energy with some of the teams may be up higher than other teams. I mean, we don't know what they've been doing this entire time, so it's kind of like watching basketball all over again for the first time and like watching it develop into something, because it's going to be totally different than anything we've seen before.
So that's the thing, is like it's weird, man, because like I joke around, the NBA is backish, right? So obviously it's one of those things in terms of like we all want to get back to normal in life. So sports is obviously for a lot of us part of that. But like, we're all human also. And obviously some people don't really believe in what's going on. But in general, everyone understands this is some serious shit with the corona stuff.
Right.
I understand there'll be testing and all that. So look, we'll see what happens. But I know other leagues and other sports have opened up, and there's been things that have happened. Alabama had a practice among those ones. So I think all it's going to take is one person, and hopefully for Rudy Gobert's sake, it's not him. I would say that.
I feel bad for the guy.
I feel bad for him. It's just he's got to lay low for now. So if he's the guy that ends up spreading, that's not going to be
good. The league again if that happens.
No, it's not going to be good for him. But yeah. So look, 22 teams, and what's going on is this. So those 22 teams, I'll go over here. I'll put it up for a second. Let's see. So what they ended up doing, there's now 13 teams in the West. There's 9 teams in the East. it's been like that for years, where the West is just a little bit stronger. But even Kevin Durant, I think a day ago, came out and said, "I'm definitely not playing." We all kind of knew that. I mean, I don't really think that they were going to be a threat anyways, just in terms of him not playing. But anything that stands out to you, outside of the top eight, I mean, to me, really the only thing that's look, New Orleans is like a sexy pick in terms of, hey, they have a lot of good players. But to me, Portland, if they're healthy and Nurkic is healthy, like they could be a threat. I don't really see anyone outside of that in the West, and obviously in the East, it's not that way.
I think mathematically there has to be enough games, right, for these teams to all get back into it. I don't know if it's a scenario where Memphis needs to lose 6 of 8 and San Antonio needs to win 7 of 8 to get back in. I don't know what the standings are, but I'm interested to see something like that because the Spurs have made the playoffs since you and I have been watching basketball, pretty much.
Yeah, right. So it's just to see if they can keep the streak alive there.
There's drama there, and before the season started, I thought the Kings would take a big leap. And to see them actually being a part of it's cool. So like I'm cool with the West and the way things worked out, but I don't care if the Wizards make the playoffs.
Right. So to me, that's right. That's the thing. In the East, it's like okay, but you could go even further. Do you care if the Magic make the playoffs?
No, that's what I was gonna say. I could go. Those first 3 teams mean nothing to me in the East. Those teams have no chance of doing anything.
It's not. They have no chance, and not only that. So that's the other thing too. Is like the idea of having no chance, right? So I'm just gonna go as we, have things written down. We joke around, but I'm gonna go as we're talking about it. So to me, I kept saying, a couple days before the Damian Lillard thing came out, where he said he wasn't gonna play basically if they had no chance to win. And I said, and there was other people that were telling me, look, they have incentive, it's money. And to me, I get money, obviously, but the majority of these guys have enough money, and to finish a season with this amount of games left, the amount of money that they're going to lose out on, with the risk not only of the Rona stuff, which obviously there's that. The team that wins it all is going to be there for 4 months, I heard, something like that. So
right. Late October.
Yeah, everything involved, like there's got to be enough incentive for these guys. And sure enough, a couple days later, Lillard came out. So the idea of incentive, where look at these teams that we're talking about have no shot, competitive advantage wise, like what incentive did these guys have to come back and go full go? And it's hard, but we're gonna obviously jump into it fantasy wise. You and I do a lot of DraftKings. We constantly giving each other a hard time about our fucking lineups, and it's one of those. We should share some text messages one day.
I'm worried about that. I'm worried about the injuries for sure. Like the guys that, like you said, like a guy like Lillard, you go out there and lose 3 of the first 4 you play in this thing, and you're really kind of out of it. Does he play anymore? Does he risk getting hurt? He's got max contract. What is he doing out there playing for this? But at some point, it was a love of the game, not to be cliche, that got these guys to play basketball. And if you tell them there's any sliver of hope of them when playing for an NBA championship, don't they go out there and play? You would
That's
think.
the thing. So, like I said, a Portland where they're on the outside looking in typically right now. Like, okay, now they have a chance where that's a team that at least they've shown they can be a threat. Whatever it is, Terry Stotts or whatever the case is. And look, we hate us on Whiteside. I don't know about you, but it's right. So we hate us on. But look, if they get Nurkic back and Lillard when he was healthy was going crazy. McCollum got hurt. I mean,
squad, man. I thought they'd be a top 4 team in the West for sure.
And Melo came back with a disadvantage that he hadn't played in a while, and he wasn't in basketball shape, and now everyone's on the same level basically. So he's had the opportunity to catch up to everyone else. So, you and I, fantasy wise, and I think what's going to happen to me personally, you're going to have a lot of the guys on the teams that are meh, right? That's what I call them, the meh teams. So to me, like, what's the motivation for these meh team guys who they're going to come back? They know they have no chance. They can either get hurt, they can get sick. So, like, fantasy-wise, how can you trust any of those guys? We need to talk about guys we can trust, because the reality is, I think we would agree, coming back, we don't know what the hell to expect, but it's going to depend on every team situation.
So you trust them if they're playing for a championship and not like Devin Booker. You don't trust Devin Booker, for instance.
Maybe a Devin Booker because he likes to score 70 points in a game or whatever
Right.
the case is, and maybe because that team will play young guys.
So
But
in fantasy, like I'm looking for guys like that. Like I think that he'll go out there and just keep trying to show himself. That's it. Like I don't think he cares if they win the games or not. You know,
that's typically how it is. It's those guys on those teams, like even a Zach LaVine-ish type guy or something.
right.
You're just looking at numbers with no wins. And
Look at Bradley Beal will be owned by everybody in daily fantasy when he gets.
that's the thing. He'll come back, and then that's the other thing too. So I was talking about the idea of like when they come back, are they gonna go 100 when they come back? It's not. It doesn't make sense to me that unless these teams are fighting for a chance to get in, it's what's the point of them coming out and playing, especially a team like the Lakers or something along those lines, where it's like, why are they going to play LeBron 40 minutes, 35 minutes? I mean, like, they're going to ease guys back in, man.
Maybe a game or two they do that, but if they win their first couple, let's just say their first two games are against Sacramento and Phoenix. Now, I have it pulled up here of who they're supposed to play. It doesn't say the order. It just says the teams are supposed to play, and it has them playing the Rockets and the Nuggets the first two games. That's competitive for the Lakers. But if they go and win those two games, it doesn't matter what they do after that. They pretty much got the conference locked up where he doesn't need to play those games. And then fantasy is impacted once again for those games. But it's kind of like the Week 17 NFL thing. It's just this is on a lot.
That's exactly what it, right. And the thing is, obviously, basketball is a little bit easier in the sense of you get a feel for like the guys that when the teams aren't playing all their guys, who's going to play? When it's a smaller rotation of guys, even the back end. I think when the first time I hit a first place in a contest, it was with Kevin Looney in my captain spot, and it just so it was one of those weird situations that I had a really cheap guy, and that's how you win in those all those situations essentially. But I think that you and I go back and forth about the style of play that we like to do, and I like showdowns. I like the 3-game slates and all that, but there's tiers and all these things. So showdowns to me are going to be easier in terms of with the other stuff. You never know. There's too many variables.
Yeah, there's variance once you get outside of a single game setting for sure. It's crazy what you could do. I won money randomly picking Ish Smith out of my ass, and he went crazy that night. You know what I mean? And it was like a game that I wasn't even going to touch anybody from, but I picked him and put him in my lineup. But yeah, I mean, I think we both did well last year in the finals. That was like we had a good grip on that
playoff run. I just was terrible with. I want to say Toronto and Philly. Toronto and Philly, I was terrible.
It was that or the Celtics in Milwaukee. One of the two. You weren't.
I don't know. There was one I just couldn't hit anything, and I gave up.
You were missing, and I think I did well in that series. Whatever it was we did the opposite. That's how this game goes here. I think this is.
And we refuse to take it. I don't know, maybe not always, but I feel like sometimes we're just so set in our ways when we're talking about it. We're like, all right, I'm just gonna do it now because I said I was.
My point. You need to see my point.
If I win, that's how you know.
Right.
So I go back to that damn night that I fucking missed my lineup when I had to add money to it. I missed out on a bunch of money, dude.
That's rough.
Well, that's what I was saying the other day. Is like, yeah, I mean, I won enough money to where I can validate it to my wife, type of thing, But at the same time, I lost a lot of money, and it's hit or miss. I mean, you know how it is. Look, we'll steer away from that. Look, so day one, are you planning on as soon as they come back? Are you putting money in? You playing some lineups? You gotta have it.
I need it, man. I've already played. I've played the simulated ones that are free just because it gives you something to do.
Right. So I was gonna ask you. I was gonna ask you that, but I mean, I think I was more gonna ask you: has the absence of sports changed your urge at all? Has it? You tap the arm. So I guess not. I get it.
Do I love sports any less?
it's not. See, that's the thing, right? So I don't love sports any less, and they were giving me a hard time because they had asked a couple weeks ago, like, what's the one thing when this is all over that you're gonna do differently? And I was, they all know I'm married and they're not, but I said like, yeah, I'm gonna spend more time with my family, and it's not because I'm trying to sound, me, man. I'm not.
Right.
She's sitting next to me, yeah, but like, I don't give a shit. I'll tell her whatever.
Right.
But the reality is, like, the absence of it, dude. I'm sitting here and I don't want to turn the camera around, but I have two TVs sitting here. While we're watching a show, I'm sitting here watching a game, and I'm on my phone looking at Twitter, trying to see what's going on. It's crazy,
Right.
and she's really good about it. But it's kind of, I've gotten like decompressed a little bit, I think, and I even started to forget to go on DraftKings and like collect my daily coins or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Went back the other day and like they're like, no, you haven't won enough recently to be able to get in. I'm like, yeah, first time in years,
No, good.
Right. VIP. I mean, like I said, I don't even want to talk about the money part, but yeah, the idea, like I said, day one, I don't know, man. It's one of those things. Like when I play, like I play aggressively. Like when I'm winning and I feel good about my lineups, I start putting my $10, $15, whatever lineups in.
Right.
But to start out without really having enough understanding of like what is actually going to, like, I don't know what I'm gonna see. And that's the crazy thing. It's like typically I base my stuff off of, the first 5 games of the regular season. But I don't even understand how to figure it out right now.
I don't either. I'm gonna have to do it. I mean, it's so cliche, but like one game at a time.
One game at a time. No, I understand.
You have to like. I'm gonna slow play the shit out of it.
That's what it is. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna pay less money.
Like, what, $10 right out the gate. Let me just see what it does. I mean, that would be an okay bet, but it'd be stupid for me to do. It's just you have no idea what these guys are gonna do. Zero, like absolutely zero. The chemistry is terrible. I don't think they're going to, like I said, I don't think they're going to forget how to play basketball. I just don't think they're going to come out there and scoring 120 points like either. So it's just
they're going to look a little rusty. But the only other thing too, I think they said today or heard today that I don't think they're able to practice like a 5-on-5 until they get to Orlando.
Right, that's going to really. I mean,
I don't have a timeline in front of me, but there's so many variables, man. And then going back to the motivation and tying it in, it's like now because of the delay that we've had, they're crunching everything else together, moving into next season, and it's bleeding in. So it's like the off season isn't there,
right?
So motivation for them to
3.5 months, and now it's like a month and a half.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna mess everything up. But obviously we're Heat fans. We're both repping over here. But yeah, look, Heat. I don't know. I feel like they became fantasy relevant this year. It was hard with the injuries, Hero and all that. But and by the way, I forgot to mention. I don't know if you knew this because I didn't do any standard leagues. They ended. I had to ask someone today. I didn't know.
I hadn't done one. Somebody asked me to do one, but it had been like 2 years since I got into one, and I was just doing more DFS. And it was.
That's the thing.
I didn't pay attention to a standard league, let alone do the draft. That was really the
and with NFL, I do a lot of DraftKings, but not anything compared to basketball. So
right.
I do a ton of fantasy football leagues.
Yeah.
And a little bit of DraftKings compared to the opposite.
I'm the same exact way.
Yeah. So my question really was the Heat. The idea, Hero was hurt. They had some injuries going on. They just got Iggy, and they just, so are they coming back at full strength? I mean, we don't know, obviously, but are they fantasy relevant? Are they daily fantasy relevant for us? Because the idea is, I actually kind of think that them separately than the other teams, like if they're fighting for something towards the end, they've never been about one guy.
Right.
You're not talking about a Steph Curry or whatever it is to get his numbers. You're talking about a team that spreads it around anyways.
I think because Jimmy's the tough one, right? Because they make you pay up for Jimmy a lot of times. And I don't think he's worth paying up for over Bam.
Almost. That's the thing. the cost of the players, it's like Jimmy and Bam are going to be up there, but everyone else is pretty much fair game cheap. It's like,
I was talking with Mark about this the other day. Mark and I were talking about golf fantasy because we build our lineup the same way when I do DFS golf. I know you probably don't watch golf, so it's maybe that's not your cup of tea.
I watched a little bit of the Tom Brady and Tiger thing.
Yeah, that was fun. But so what I always do is they give you the same amount of money, but the good guys are 10 grand and the mediocre guys are 6, and you have to land. So I always throw a dart at the middle guy that I like. That's like $7,500, and I build after that. I do the same thing in basketball. So a guy like Tyler Hero, like he might be the first guy I pick on my fantasy team because he's cheap enough that I could get some points out of him, and then I work my way into the other guys that I can use around him. So like I feel like guys like him, Dragic. I don't think Iggy is going to get to the point of being usable. Maybe in the playoffs, we'll see.
The problem is this: like
Crowder's a good one,
right? It'll Jay Crowder, and again, we talk about the price of it, and this is one of those things you and I have talked about for years. The whole like the what is it? The what up 5? I'm looking for. I wrote it down here somewhere. Whatever, basically the value of the player in terms of how much you have to spend for them and how much they're going to put out.
Right.
And the idea is simply, on a guy like Jimmy Butler, right? So he's going to be typically around 85, whatever it is, but he's going to be expensive. And it's like, yeah, he can give you a triple-double, but the reality is if everyone's healthy, he is a better Miami Heat player when he's not going crazy in fantasy basketball.
Right. I'd rather him putting up Draymond numbers than going crazy.
And that's the thing. So as Heat fans, it's one of those things because when we've seen them at full strength this season, they have been good enough to distribute and do, like the hero step back 3 against 76ers. It's like they've spread it out. Duncan Robinson has been a thing.
Right.
They've all had their moments, especially with the injuries, but
Kendrick Nunn has been like,
and that's the thing. Him and Hero actually, they've been pretty close price wise, and I think Nunn for the most part has been more.
Catch on when the virus really once it stopped basketball, but I could see they were getting up into the 7s.
People are going to forget. That's the other thing too. So who is at an advantage for? I guess that's kind of one of the things I was talking about too. Was on my side of it, like who coming back, are we at an advantage because we do this all the time, or are we at a disadvantage because of people who are just doing this for fun know as much as we do right now?
I'll give you an even better scenario than that. The people that actually watch the sport to watch the sport versus the ones that do the analytical betting on it and usually win a lot of these leagues are going to be for once at a disadvantage to us.
They don't have enough. They don't have enough to go off of.
Right. We know the form of the player. Right. So regardless if they've played in the last 2 months or not, we know what they've been doing and what they're capable of doing. And those guys are just going to look at the analytics and go, well, he's priced this. This is what I should be paying for people like that. And you're not going to get value at this guy or that, whatever the case may be. I think you can really surprise people. That's the thing about betting the first few games before everyone gets their feet under them. Like I did a lot of NBA preseason DFS this year, which I don't like to admit to a lot of people, but I did it. I tried it out. And it was amazing because I got a hold of some guys that I was like, look, this guy he might not even. You
knew what to expect going on to the season.
Right. The summer league stuff. I was like, I did summer league DFS and I was like, this guy's not even going to make a team. But watch out for this,
Once they get called up. Well, there was a bunch of those guys on like the Warriors and teams like that where, injuries are their way out of it. I mean, the Warriors obviously have a ton of injuries and they've just had like D-League or G League players all season, basically.
Right.
But the question, so that's the other part too, and that's kind of what I'm having. For me, like it's knowing the unknown. Where the people, the casual fan, they're not going to know the guys that you and I will have known about.
Right.
I don't even remember right now, to be honest. Like unless I go and do a ton of research, which, like right now, am I going to do that to jump into the first game? No. So I don't know, man. Who's gonna play? We have no idea. It's gonna be crazy, man. It's I don't know what to expect, but that's the fun part about it. I guess we'll see what's going on. But I just hope look, as long as they play through the season and get through the season, I think that'll be a win on its own for everybody to some degree.
Right. It was like what you were saying. You didn't care if they came back initially. You were like okay if they did, but now that they've dangled the carrot in front of you, you want it to go all the way to the finals. You want to see the whole thing through. My worry is like round 2, game 3 comes up, and James Harden gets the coronavirus, and they just turn the whole thing off again.
And that's the thing, and I get it, man. It's hard because these guys obviously want to be safe, and LeBron is in a weird spot to me because like obviously he doesn't want to be like against the idea of staying safe, but if you think about the fact that like this is a missed opportunity to add to his
legacy,
it could go the other way. What is he, 3-6? He could go 3-7 if he comes back. First of all,
it doesn't that number doesn't matter anymore. The three number is the only thing that matters anymore because he could lose all he wants to lose from now on. He'll never be Jordan, but if he doesn't keep winning, they won't consider him even close.
It doesn't even matter in terms of the way people will look at him long term, but he'll get crushed. It'll be social media and TV the way it is. That's all that will be talked about. He lost. I mean,
he's the guy. So
right. No, like I'm not talking shit about LeBron, but in general, look, if he comes back, if he comes back and wins it, obviously it was way worth it for him. But
no, you're going to get the haters the other way. They'll put an asterisk on it and say it wasn't fair. Look at they all had to put. There's no home court. This is no.
So I want to talk about the home court thing, but to me the asterisk.
It's an asterisk.
Asterisk. No. So the point I made on Twitter the other day, you know how it is. It was simply this: the difference between the Astros, what happened with them and the cheating scandal, and whatever other teams that have had things happen like that, the Patriots, and I know the people aren't putting it on them necessarily, but all these things, those are negatives. Like nobody, there might be, people might look back and say this wasn't legit, but right. It wasn't for a bad reason. It wasn't because someone cheated. It wasn't. So it's not going to be viewed the same way. And again, I understand if LeBron needs to come, but I don't know, man. We'll see if it's worth it. But the home court advantage thing, real quick. So ESPN, they put this up the other day, and I'll pull it up. So let me find out what's going on. So they, as I'm scrolling through here, they put up this graphic. I got it right here. So basically what they were talking about was doing different things to make up for the fact that, home court advantage essentially does not exist anymore.
Right.
These are kind of ridiculous. And actually, Ethan, what happened? Ethan posted this and sort of was asking everyone's opinion. But I don't know. I mean, look, to go through them real quick, the higher seeded team gets possession. Like, who the fuck cares about possession? That's such a random thing. Higher seeded team designates one player to be 7 fouls. Okay, but ultimately, a lot of the star players nowadays, they're not fouling out. Higher seeded team received an extra coach challenge. Get out of here. To me, what I thought was really funny was the idea of they have to transport their actual home court or hardwood home court to Orlando. So me. Great. Yeah, I don't know about you, but personally, I said this. I was envisioning teams loading up their whole freaking court and flying them. I said, screw it, man. If you're gonna go that far, I want the AAA flowing all the way down into Orlando.
At least bring the seats.
I mean, if you're gonna go as far as bringing the court, man, I want the AAA in Orlando. I want white hot. You can put sex dolls, whatever nonsense you get from South Korea, in the stands, but they're wearing white. That's what I want to see.
I do too. I'm in with that.
What do you think? Do you have any? Any other idea? How could they make it fair? Because it really is. That's the other thing, as far as it not being fair, not being a real season, is that there's no home court advantage.
Yeah, I mean, and it's in basketball. Arguably, it's bigger than any other sport. So I don't see how you
It's
could.
not like hockey.
Yeah, I mean, who cares where you're playing there? In baseball, who cares where you're playing there? Like at the end of the day, basketball, the fans make the difference, and if they're behind you, they're behind you, and it gives you momentum. We've seen it a billion times. So with no fans, the home
They're gonna
court
they're gonna pump in crowd noise, but like
played this in empty arenas, but played it at the arena of the home team, it still wouldn't matter. They're
how
the
great how great would that be if for each home team like they played specific stuff like
yeah, like
for
let's
Utah it was like racist ass shit. They're just yelling at you.
racist shit
Yeah.
in
In
background.
Miami, you got people yelling out in Spanish and shit. You don't
People
even
are
know.
showing up late to the game, be like, "Oh yeah, what
Yeah,
time is
right.
it?"
They don't start pumping in the music until like halfway through the third.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
The music,
Like
so
the
whatever.
Dos Minutos, that would be a big up. I
Yeah.
watched. It's funny you said that. I watched a soccer game today in Germany, and they put in crowd noise for the
So I
game.
heard they were doing that. I mean, I don't know if they're doing that in South Korea. I've watched a
There
couple
was a
games.
foul, it was on the opposing team, and they made the crowd boo. Like I want that guy, the guy who gets to hit the button and go boo. Hey,
Powerful man. You
what
know,
a
he
guy, bro!
gets all the ladies.
The whole game. It was
He's
crazy.
got the key around his neck, and he's like, nobody else can open this little elastic.
That's it, man. He's got the codes.
Do it like once a year. By the
That's
way,
it.
I went back because it was bothering me. What I was talking about was the ratio of 5. So that was what it was. Now that I got stuck, but I blame the beer anyways. But the whole idea is whatever you pay for someone, and I have an example because I write things down because I'm like that. Anyone who knows me, I'm super OCD. So
Yeah.
I don't know when I did this because it says my example is Paul Millsap at $8,000. So whatever that means. But the ratio of 5, it's so if he's at $8,000, the ratio of 5 means he has to get 40 points for him to be worth the value. So when we're talking about the Jimmy Butler and we're talking about Tyler Hero, like obviously they're not doing the same thing, but like when I said I won with Kevin Looney in my captain spot, it's because he was super cheap, and the ratio of 5 became like a ratio of 35.
Yeah, he did like way more than he was supposed to that night.
Now I just need to go back and edit this part and put it where I talked before, like
That's it.
I don't. I'm
Great
not.
point, David. Ratio of 5.
That's what I said it earlier. You just misheard it, but don't press rewind. It doesn't work that way.
That doesn't.
It's not like a VCR.
Backwards.
What is a VCR? I'm leaving banners up here. So I was joking with you earlier, like I'm messing around with this production stuff while we're recording, and I'm noticing I'm leaving things up, and I'm not. I put all these different things here that we're talking about. We have talked about all these things, but I had like a banner set up. Man,
Beer.
yeah. So I mean, anyways, like we're gonna get back to regular fantasy soon, obviously. But at the end of the day, it's just one of those things. There's a lot of shit going on right now, but if they get through the season, I think we'll be happy. I think when it gets to the playoffs, I'll feel comfortable. Like that's when I'll start playing more. I'll put some more money out there, and hopefully they make it that far. I think that's the important part at the end of the day.
Yeah, if they win 8 games, I think it'll be fantastic because then everybody playing also has the same motive. They all want to win, have a chance to win. They're in the tournament.
Right. Once they get down to the playoffs, it'll be more, okay, this is how we play on a normal basis type thing. And I think I'll feel more comfortable. Look, I have league pass or whatever I have, and I sit here and I watch enough basketball. And yeah, you don't need to do that. I know a lot of people who go analytics, but we watch a lot of basketball. We kind of have a feel for what's going on. So right now I have no feel, and that's kind of what I'm not very. I don't gamble, man. I don't go to the casino. Like this is my thing. But like when I don't really have a feel for what's going on, I don't have the guts to go all in right away. And I
You're
think
not forcing it, which is smart. That's what you're supposed to be doing in this situation, and not just doing it for the sake of doing it.
the problem is football. I do that like every single week, and I know football. You and I, we play in fantasy football leagues for years now. Sometimes I hate you, but but ultimately, like that's so different, man. I can't I could do that shit all day on DraftKings, man. It's such a coin toss on those random guys, but
It's
You know,
true.
we'll get into stuff more. I'm going to start doing fantasy stuff on here, I think, and we'll go from there. But again, Derek Downs, Sports Under the Influence is the podcast. I don't know what your actual @ is on Twitter. I know you have Sudi there, but I think there's more to it. There's more to it, no?
Sports Under the Influence.
All right, there you go. I talk about sports. 5 Reasons Sports Network. We out.